What's up and welcome to the animated series where we showcase the dopest talent and untold stories behind the animation industry. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Alyssa Rosa, and today I have Annie-nominated director John Aoshima. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So growing up in Japan, you said your grandmother helped you discover the beauty in art as early as the age of 5.
Yeah.
And that My Neighbor Totoro is actually very nostalgic for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So where do you find the beauty today, in art today specifically?
Within today's animation, it's super exciting because there's so much more exposure, and that also means the amount of culture that can be shared around the world. And I think seeing these unique stories and the styles from different parts of the world coming into the mainstream media is really exciting. The cultures being more available to all of us.
And do you feel as if, like, from your cultural background, have you ever been able to emulate that into what you find beautiful in the art that you make?
You know, I'm always trying to find an angle, find a way to just pepper in something from my cultural background in Japan. But when it comes to, you know, industry work that I've been involved in, I just try to think about, you know, the content and what the show requires. And then from there, if there's a way to give it, you know, a sense of timing where there's a little bit of pauses where, you know, it allows the character to breathe, and those kind of sensibilities are more available or present in I think, Eastern content, but I feel that more commercial Western content just seems to be really fast. And so I try to find a way to pace the content where it has a bit of that flavor. And I don't think people will notice. I think it's super subtle, but I would say, you know, that would be part of my directing style.
Is it true that you were lucky enough to have an animation course while you were in high school?
Yes.
So what about animation kept you invested after the 4 years of high school?
Filmmaking was always an exciting medium for me, right? And then I loved to draw, so it just naturally became a perfect medium for me to work in animation or study animation at the time. And then, you know, being lucky enough to be exposed to all kinds of professionals in high school. This high school program called Roland Animation, it's already been recognized by the industry, especially in animation. Mainly because there's a lot of alumni from the program that had exposure professionally in the business, where they were able to draw in the professionals to visit the students. And my teacher, Dave Master, just would make cold calls to the studios and get these legends in our classrooms.
That's so cool.
And having that exposure really, you know, woke me up to this whole world of animation that I never thought I had access to. From there, my love for animation just continued to grow. And I knew this is my path, and I wanted to work in it professionally, to the point where when I applied for college, I was like, it's CalArts or not, or you know, CalArts or bust. So it's the only college I applied to, actually.
Wow.
And luckily, yeah, they accepted me, and you know, and it continued from there.
Were you shocked at all with just like, the only school that I want to go to, or were you just like, yeah, I deserve this, I know that I can do this?
Of course, there was a level of confidence that I had, only because in the high school program, we were allowed to make our own films. You know, they actually like expected you to make films every year, just like the colleges. And we would submit our films into the LA Student Film Festival. And a lot of our student work from the class were being recognized, and we would get the recognition and awards for it. And so my teacher had drilled into storytelling and you know, quality animation and our portfolio. It's really about getting our foot in the door and growing in the studio structure from that point. With that sort of experience and knowledge of the know-how that I had access to as a high school student is like priceless, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to take a little bit of a hard left here and ask you a question that I'm wondering, and I'm sure everyone at home is wondering. What inspired you to take on the challenge of bringing Ultraman to a new generation of viewers through animation?
Well, one, I think I was fortunate to be brought to the table where I can do such thing, right? It scares me. Ultraman is a huge, iconic hero in Japan and Asia. Being exposed to it growing up in Japan, you want to protect the legacy. You want to do it justice, right? It's a really huge icon for me.
Yes.
Right. So that being said, I feel like being able to make Ultraman for the global audience, and I get to be at the seat with Shannon Tyndall to help create that movie. I'm super honored, but at the same time, it's a huge responsibility. But I'm willing to take it on because it's like if I don't do it, someone else will, and if someone else does it, will I be personally happy? Knowing that I came from that background, knowing that I grew up with Ultraman.
So, as a director
Yes.
who has worked on shows like Maya and the Three, Gravity Falls, I'm a personal fan, and Pickle and Peanut, could you explain how your approach to directing differs on each of these highly distinct series?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those are a huge variety of shows, aren't they?
Yes.
For me, when I started, and before I even had the directing opportunity, I was lucky enough again to be on these like huge shows or well-known showrunners. My first show being Futurama, and working on Futurama, no one knew what that was, but everyone knew it was by the creator of The Simpsons. But then soon after that show, I had moved on to The Simpsons, and Simpsons is an established show, so it's again, I'm in a situation where it's like, I have to really keep an eye on the integrity of the show and really understand the goals here and a lot of communication with the director and the showrunners. But with that background, it actually had helped me tap into how I would get into these shows. And again, I would say Gravity Falls was unknown, right? But and we just had this super secret, exciting show at the studio, and we all believed in it. But when I was first being interviewed for potential director of the show, I had already met Alex Hirsch. I got to know Alex, and I always knew that he was a huge fan of The Simpsons. Going in, it's really about protecting what Alex and the writing team were after.
Yes.
So I approached it where I got to protect the showrunner's vision first.
Okay.
And then where I can have my freedom and creativity is how I visualize that idea. Where do I put the camera, and how do I pace it, and how do I compose the moments. And so through trial and error in the process of animation, you start to know what the creator wants. And so that's how I navigate through. And then something like Pickle and Peanut is a really, really interesting show. Its format of that show is completely different, where it's like it's not, you don't start off scripted. It comes with a outline show. And then from there, you try to help build the story with the story team and the showrunners, and then try to form a structure where it has a narrative that you can follow that's still entertaining to the audience.
Did you ever anticipate that you would have a character named after you? No, never.
No? It's interesting how that all kind of happens. It's been in multiple cases now, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does it feel surreal at some points in time?
Definitely is, and I think it's surreal when you start seeing what people put up on the internet. And I mean, in a positive way. Like, for example, there was this flying dolphin character with these, big arms.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's an episode where Mabel, eats some expired candy and has a hallucination, and we get to see what that is. And she's writing on this dolphin character. One of the board artists went off script, I think, and created this vision of what Mabel would have. And he pitched the idea where Mabel's riding this dolphin, and the board artist created that dolphin. And he's just pitching the story where Mabel's riding in and saying, "Onwards, Hiroshima." And then Alex is like, that's great. This is an amazing idea, but we can't have Mabel say Hiroshima.
Yeah, no.
It's just so random, right? And just, I don't know why at the moment, I just said, use my last name. It's close to Hiroshima. Just call it Aoshima. I didn't think it'll stick, but it did.
Yeah, it did.
And now it's a meme online.
Which is great. But do you have any other characters that are named after you specifically?
There is a character in Kubo and the Two Strings. Yeah. And that's a big part of my career, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's a story that takes place in Japan, and again, this is a movie that I approach it, in a very deep, personal level, connected with the story and the character. Shannon Tendo had created Kubo and the Two Strings, and Kubo happens to be my stepfather's last name.
Oh, wow.
And because it's a unique name, they just use it as a nickname. When Shannon and I were roommates, I had some high school friends that came over. They were calling me Kubo. And Shannon, he's only known me since college.
Yeah.
So he's like, what is Kubo? Why are they calling you that? So I explained it to him, and he was just like, that's a really cool name. Literally about 10 years later, he calls me and he says, I sold an idea to Laika, and I'm calling it Kubo and the Two Strings. And we follow a character named Kubo. And since I'm using your name, I think you need to be part of it.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, let's do this. And that's how it came about.
How did that feel, especially because you're, in one moment you're saying, I'm a meme, and now, in another, it feels more like an honor.
When I think about it, I have all kinds of feelings about it. One, it's just really bizarre to think that a name that you've grown up with could be a character, and it's out in the world, right? And everyone refers to that character, or people within my industry in animation all know what Kubo is.
Right.
And I mean, they'll refer to the movie, but to hear my name being said in that context is really bizarre, but also really rewarding at the same time. And thinking deep into it, and maybe it's a little too personal, but it's more about me coming to this country, right, and trying to adapt and fit in, right. And especially when I didn't speak the language when I first came to the United States, and it's more about like, can I be recognized? Can I leave a mark in this world? Like, who am I in this like crazy world, crazy country, really?
Yeah.
To find myself in this medium, and to the point where it's a professional entertainment industry, and then not only that, to have a character named after me. It's really, really fortunate, I think, and really exciting personally for me. And it'll just, be part of the cinema
history,
literally,
and your history, and your family's history, which is like the most important part. So it seems as if you've made your mark. So
I hope so. I try to say it in the most humble way, but I think as long as, my story, can excite, a newcomer or someone that's aspiring to be in the industry, I'm all for. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So as we're talking about Kubo, how did you transition from working on 3D or 2D animated films and then going to a stop motion project? Did it affect your process at all?
Oh, definitely did.
Yeah.
That was my first feature experience, and I was hired on as a head of story, and the format was very, well, the way I broke it down was it's very similar to TV structure. TV structure, you have a showrunner who runs the show, and then you have episodic directors that can translate or help translate the script to visuals. And so with Kubo, the medium of stop motion was super unique and exciting for me because not only was it my first feature, I got to pursue it with this cinematic lens. Shannon was talking about the influence of Akira Kurosawa, I mean, come
Yeah,
on,
I mean,
right?
like,
Kurosawa, right? And Yojimbo,
Yes.
and all these classics that I was studying, never got to really like take that knowledge or that idea, inspiration into my profession, mainly because I was in TV in a world of probably like more comedy or sitcoms. In stop motion, it's a real physical camera with a lens, and I had to be very mindful of that. And I had to really coach our story team to be mindful of it, because our story team was a mix of experienced feature people and TV people.
Would you ever do it again, like another stop motion film?
If you know, it's a very, very hard medium. I think it's probably one of the hardest within animation, but I love miniatures personally, and if I ever have the opportunity, and we can make it happen, I think I will.
So being nominated for an Annie for directing must have been significant for you.
Yes.
Did you feel it was a personal achievement, or did you feel encouraged that it would help support your future projects?
For us, we don't go in trying to win awards. Right. We want to do the best work possible. I felt recognized for the level of work and passion I put into that show.
My last question is a question I love to ask every single one of my guests.
Okay.
What change do you want to see in animation in the next few years?
Change. Ooh. Okay. Well, I would have to echo Guillermo del Toro has been saying. And I would say, I think Brad Bird has also been saying the same thing, where animation is not a genre, it's a film or a show. And it's just as, diverse as live action. Why label it as a genre for kids? For us storytellers, we don't want to be compartmentalized as that. We're lovers of the medium of animation, and we want to tell stories in the most unique way possible, and still entertaining and still marketable, right?
Yes.
And so we do our best to just focus on that, but I would love to see a world where that is all out there. Yeah.
Well, thank you for hanging out with me today. I really learned a lot from you. Would you like to play a game with me before you?
Okay.
Yeah? Welcome to Paint a Scene, where my guest, John, will pick a scene from film or TV that is significant to him, and I'll have to guess where it comes from. Are you ready to paint a scene?
I think so. Okay, let's do it.
I'm a little nervous.
Try to process this in my head first.
Go ahead.
I have multiple films that's rushing in my head, and I can't decide which one. It's probably super easy, especially after the interview. It's a very simple shot of a film.
Well, I know it's Miyazaki, but my brain is not working right now because we talked about this. Why am I so bad with names?
Okay, how about color?
The red airplane. I know it.
You're just blanking out on the title?
Yeah, quite literally.
In Japanese, it's called Kurenai no Buta.
I'm still a beginner in Japanese.
I love me some pork katsu. Hint. Hint, hint.
I'm ashamed, yes.
Okay, Porco Rosso. And it made me think about the quiet moments or the Eastern sensibility. And it's just a wide shot of a plane flying. The plane's really small, but there's something really, really emotional about it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I lost.
Thank you. That was fun.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the animated series, where we talk about all the dope talent and untold stories within the animation industry. I'm here with the amazing, super talented animator, storyboard artist, designer, Lee Cree.
How
did you get your start drawing?
According to my mom, very credible source, I've been drawing since I was like 2 years old, and my parents just were like, well, it's the one thing that gets her to sit down and not be a crazy baby, just let her draw all the time. I never like took it seriously until maybe when I was like 9, 8 years old, when it was 2007. I'll never forget this. My aunt took my sisters and me to a film festival in New York, the Tribeca Film Festival. In my aunt's defense, she thought the movie was Pokemon because that was when like Pokemon was super huge.
Oh.
And so I think she just thought, oh, this looks like Pokemon, therefore it is Pokemon.
What was it?
It was a Japanese animated film called Brave Story, not meant for kids. And that was basically the movie that like changed my whole entire life.
We're both from New Jersey.
Yeah, we are.
We both kind of grew up in the same area. We're always amazed that we've somehow not known each other before getting into the industry.
We're basically related.
I'm pretty sure if we asked enough people, we're definitely related. There's no way that we're not.
Are we cousins and we just don't know it?
Cousins. You grew up on the streets, and I'm not meaning in the sense of an urban city. I'm talking about where you got your internship that kind of started this all.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
we do have to talk about
Yeah, we got to
this.
talk about this. So why don't you tell all the peeps out there, where did you get your start from, Lee?
So my very first job in the animation industry was none other than Sesame Street in New York City. All the crew doing this.
Repping.
This is a bit of a story, but basically the school I went to, it was an art school and it was required for you to do an internship in order to graduate, called Montserrat College of Art in Beverly, Massachusetts. It's a very small private art school. It's about like 40 minutes away from Boston. For like the entirety of that semester, I was trying to get an internship and I kept getting rejected. I ended up messaging my mentor. His name is Louis Mitchell. He's now, I believe, the head character designer of Sesame Street.
Oh, nice.
I emailed him and I basically told him like, hey, how do you deal with rejection? He said, you know, sometimes there's a reason why doors are closed and it's because another one's opening up, or maybe you're just not meant for it. And, you know, at the time, I think, because I was like, 19? I was still a little bit like, it's like when I wanted it.
Still a slightly teen angst.
Teen angst, you know. I was still like bummed out about it, but in the end, I was like, fine, I can't change what's happened. The only thing I can do is like move forward. And he was like, oh, okay. By the way, it's been like a while since I've seen your art. He was really sly about this. I didn't realize in the moment this is what he was doing. I showed it to him. And then the week after that, I got an email from Sesame Street, or they're called the Workshop, Sesame Workshop. And they were like, hi, my name is so-and-so. I am the manager for the internship program at Sesame Workshop. We got a recommendation from Louis Mitchell that you should apply. And by this point, the applications were like done like a month prior. So it was truly like he stuck his neck out for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, holy shit. I applied. I immediately got another interview. In the interview, I sung the theme song to Elmo's World.
Listen, I will go on camera and we've had this talk before. The OG Elmo song, it slaps, okay? Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, the Einstein songs, the Backyardigans songs, yes, they're great. But that original Elmo song,
are we allowed to sing it?
I'll sing it. In the voice. I have no shame.
La 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 la, Elmo's World.
La 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 la, Elmo's World. Elmo loves his goldfish, his crayons too. It's Elmo's World.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I did. I have to talk to the camera. Mom, if you're watching this, remember that K-pop concert you told me I couldn't go to when I was like 19? To de-stress and distract myself from this internship stuff, I went to a K-pop concert.
Auntie, it wasn't me. I wasn't there. I don't know her. I'm not involved in this. I just found out myself. I love you. Go on.
Yeah, kid you not, hours before they opened the doors, I get the email and it says, we selected you to be an intern at Sesame Street. And I just remember having the best time of my life. And then I graduated, and then I moved back in with my parents for 2 years. In that time, I was doing a lot of like storyboard tests. I kept failing. But I was also doing like YouTube stuff. So I got to like do a little bit of animation for like Pencilmation. I animate like a whole entire episode. And then there was like this indie short I worked on called Amoda and Nepson, where I was animating it, and I also did a bit of like the character design for it. In 2019, summer of 2019, I flew to California for the first time with your hostess with the mostest, Alyssa Rosa. And that's actually how we met.
Yeah, you want to tell the
No,
camera?
I do not want to tell
I
this.
think you want to tell the camera.
I do not want to tell the
story.
story.
Tell the camera how we met.
It's creepy when I say it. A friend of mine got us to do a tour at Cartoon Network, and in passing, I see Kira and your brother Deshaun in an elevator, and I have to give context that before that, I had listened to your guys' episodes on the Black and Animated podcast. So that's what I do.
We were, me, my brother who is in animation, and a friend of mine who is also in animation.
Yeah.
We're working on Craig and Creek at the time.
I see them, and I basically say, you don't know who I am, but I love your work. And like, I was truly just a creep.
She said that, continued to wave and then run as fast as humanly possible.
Because I had to catch the
With
elevator.
her sister and the person who brought her to the studio ran in after her, and then the door slowly closed, and we just sat there as we heard the ding, and we're like,
That was
who
weird.
was that?
Yeah, you guys had no clue who I was.
It was just like, okay.
That was our first meeting.
Yes, it was a great first meeting.
I think that trip was where I was like, I do have to move to California, don't I?
How did you start getting into the roles that you find yourself in now?
Nickelodeon had posted that they have their Nickelodeon artist program. And up until that point, I only had applied to their internships throughout college, and I never got in because I was like, well, I'm no longer a college student, therefore I can't apply to college internships anymore. But they had this artist program, which is basically more like an apprenticeship program where you can choose, at the time, design track or storyboard track. Now there's a CG track.
There's also a writer's.
And there's also a writer's program, but that
I
was
never got into. I tried for 4 years.
Damn.
Never give up. I think actually no. I think the year that Jeff got in was the year that I think that was my 5th try,
Oh, damn.
and I'd given up.
It was a week before the deadline, which is usually August 1st. I saw it and I was like, why not? Like, what's the worst that can happen, you know? So I get back home, in 3 days, put together an action comedy sequence. Along with that, submitted 5 sketches from my sketchbook, which is basically like, I think it was 2 were the thumbnails for the boards, and the other 3 were the character design concepts. Submitted it, and I was like, well, out of sight, out of mind, and I went about the rest of my August, and then come September, I get a phone call. Hi, this is the Nickelodeon Artist Program. We just called you to say you passed the first round for the portfolio section, and I cried. I cried on the phone.
As you should.
And I went, what? And then I went through the most rigorous interview process I'll ever experience in my life. I flew out to California for the second time, where I went through 3 days back to back of panel interviews. It was very, very intense. The Monday after Thanksgiving, that's when I got the call that like, hey, you were selected. And then I cried again. And then I had a month to pack up my things and move to California.
Did you instantly start doing boards on a show? Like, were you a revisionist? Like, how did you get in?
Oh,
what was your first, like...
Yeah, so my first show was the Rugrats reboot. Technically, the storyboard trainee is a very, like... It's basically a storyboard revisionist, but they're teaching you how to be a storyboard revisionist. And for those who don't know, a storyboard revisionist, as the name suggests, it's when after the storyboard artists are done doing the first or many passes of the storyboards, that they move on to the next episode, and then the storyboard revisionist then do the revisions with the episodic director to like make the notes according to what the executive wants, what SMP wants, or like what the director wants or the showrunner wants. So that's what a storyboard revisionist is. You're just truly just revising boards and making sure everything is up to snuff before you lock the animatic and then you ship it to an overseas studio.
What's an animatic?
Oh, an animatic is a timed storyboard where sometimes you'll have like sound effects already put in there, temp music already put in there. Usually the voice acting should also already be in there, if not
Sometimes
scratch audio.
Yeah.
But basically that's like the job of an animatic editor, is to like take the storyboards, time it so that when you ship it to the animators overseas, they have something to work off of.
How did you jump from revisionist after that to then going into the storyboards then?
I actually left Nickelodeon because there just wasn't like a production that spoke to me, or like a project that really spoke to me. And I'll say this about the Nick Artist program. They do make it a point to like place the trainees into a production once the 6 months are done, because that's how long the program is. I believe the writers program is 9 months long. So it's a little bit longer than
I wouldn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a sensitive topic?
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so it's 6 months long.
Yeah,
and
6
then-
months long, and then they try to place you onto a production. And at that time, there was a show that I did test for. I did pass the test, and they did give me a job offer, but I said no because it just wasn't. It just didn't speak to me, and I just felt like I wasn't gonna like learn anything from it. So I left, and then a couple weeks after, I was interviewed by Titmouse for, a little indie production called Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yes.
And that's how I moved into like a full-time revisionist. And then after Star Trek, I got some freelance for Critical Role, Legend of Vox Machina, the critters out there if you're a D&D fan. I was revisionist for both those shows, and then I want to say during season 3 of Star Trek Lower Decks, that's when I was being pursued to be a storyboard artist for a superhero show, and I had said no multiple times, not knowing what it was.
Wow. Sometimes you don't know. You sign the NDA and then you show up to the meeting and you're like, what is it? Just finally tell me, because they won't tell you ahead of time.
Yeah. The third time was from Jeff Trammell himself, and that's when I learned he had his own show, and I was like, oh, cool. I know you. You know me. We're friends. I went into that meeting, signed the NDA and everything. I learned what it was, and I was like, oh, I can't say no to this. What matters a lot to me when I'm picking like my jobs is people, project, and then like pay. I usually don't care that much about pay. Like, yes, I want to pay my rent and everything. That's fine.
Yeah.
But usually I value the people I work with, because I want to work with a crew that I feel like I can learn from, and we can have like this really nice environment where we can inspire each other and push each other to improve and do better. I care a lot more about like the people attached to a project rather than like the name of the project.
You do a lot.
I do a lot.
You do Western animated projects.
I do.
But Lee is also very much known for doing anime.
Yes.
Like Bleach, Boruto, and Castlevania, and what am I missing?
I just recently started, as of this recording, Jujutsu Kaisen season 2.
Kaisen. You've also kind of gone into creating your own things. You're very well known online for drawing very sexy characters, Lee. A lot of your fan base happens to be people who adore all the very attractive characters that you draw. Most recently, Superman.
We're gonna talk about this.
Yes. How does it feel for you knowing that you're sitting there making thirst traps for all these people who are fans?
So, yes, I did work on, as of this recording, the newest animated Superman show, My Adventures with Superman. As a character designer, that was my very first time doing character design. And half of like the reason how I got to work on the show was a recommendation from somebody who was already on the crew, apparently. And then the other half was I did draw a piece of fan art of Superman, but in my defense, it was not thirsty at all. It wasn't thirsty at all.
Wasn't he shirtless?
Yes.
So okay.
No. He had his little suit. He was dry cleaning he was washing his Superman suit, and it shrunk. And so I just drew him shirtless. But you can't see his front.
Interesting. Okay.
You don't know what's on my hard drive.
So what does this mean for representation? Are you wanting more representation? Because I know we've talked about it, but there's not really been any animated characters who are Ace or Arrow that I know of. There might be some. If there is some, I'm sorry for whoever those creators are. I just don't know at this moment.
I think the only recent one I can think of is probably Lilith from the Owl House from Disney TVA.
Oh. Shout out to Sissy Jones, the voice actor.
Yeah, hi Sissy. I don't know if you're watching the Sissy, but hey Sissy.
Hey Sissy.
In the show, it was like never explicitly said, but there was like this side thing. Like, you know, when they do like little bonus clips and stuff, and I believe Lilith had like a clip where she was talking about how a coworker made like romantic gesture to her, and she was just like, I just don't feel that way, type of thing. And I think that was like the confirmation that she was ace and arrow, or just aromantic in general. And on top of that, her color scheme is also, I believe, like the colors for like, I think, aromantic.
So would you want more of that
I
representation?
would love that. I mean, I don't know. I personally, for me, especially growing up, I really wish I could have seen more of like characters that, even if they're not like ace or arrow, just like it's okay to be friends and like platonic relationships in general. Because I always felt like watching certain characters, like, wow, they have a really good friendship, and then they kiss, and you're just like, but why?
And I hope that we start seeing some change. Is there anything that we haven't already discussed within the animation field that you were like, these are the things that I want to see change within the next few years?
I think in general, from both sides that I've worked on, I think the one thing I would like to see more of is more compassion and empathy for the people who do make your favorite TV shows and stuff. Going over to Japan, where they don't even have a union, and culturally speaking, it's just so different from America that the work culture and also like societal culture as well, it really is hard for like somebody to kind of stand up for themselves or stand up for their well-being and health, that, you know, they're willing to take really poor working conditions and really poor pay. And I think at the end of the day, I just want, the change I want to see is more compassion and empathy, not just from like the people who are like the studio heads who are in charge of the money, but also from like the audience that do consume the media that we make. Because it can be very easy for at least the audience to forget, oh yeah, there is a person who like sits there and draws every single frame. Somebody painstakingly figured out how many frames it takes for Naruto to run through a forest. I don't think about that.
Well, thank you so much for coming today, giving that amazing interview. And do you want to play a game?
Yeah.
We're about to play a game called Hostess with the Quotes, sis. I can't snap because I have a Band-Aid on.
Should I do it for you?
Yes, thank you. We are going to have a series of quotes thrown at us, and we're going to see if we can guess them correctly, whatever show that they are from or film that they are from.
Some people...
Frozen.
It's what?
Frozen. Olaf.
I don't even like Frozen.
I don't either.
Then why do you know it?
Don't put this in the thing, but I f***ing hate Olaf.
Are you gonna keep I'm not a prize to be won.
Jasmine from Aladdin.
It is Jasmine from Aladdin. Just office supplies.
Atlantis.
This is rigged.
Krunk in Emperor's New Groove. No!
I've always wanted to have a haunted house. It's my life.
Hotel Transylvania?
Yo, what did I think of Monster House? It's a banger movie.
Paranorman?
Hold on, we can get this, right? We can do this.
I can name like 5 animated movies right now off the top of my head that are also I moved into a place. They say it in every movie with the kid.
My last guess would be Casper.
I don't know, Frankenweenie?
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, is that Scooby-Doo and the Zombie Island?
Yes.
Okay. Yo, I watch that movie every year.
One Punch Man?
In addition to knowing the secrets of the universe, I'm also...
Assassination Classroom?
No. You know, I'm learning that I should probably watch English dubs of anime.
I know, I don't watch anything.
I don't watch it in English.
Sorry to all of our voice acting friends. I mostly watch it in
Japanese.
There's only specific ones that I grew up watching in English. Samurai
Is it One Piece? Like Yu-Gi-Oh?
Sounds like some dumb shit Goku would say, but I don't know.
That is some dumb shit Goku would say.
Fooly Cooly?
Oh my god! You're right!
Buzz Lightyear?
Yeah, it is. Princess and the Frog.
I know.
What is that? It sounds like from Beauty and the Beast.
It's not Lion King.
No. Would it be Mulan?
No. Can I use my hotline?
Wait, that's not fair. I don't get a hotline. That's not fair.
Oh, hi, Andres. How you doing? Yeah, I love your music. Wow, you're so talented. Oh my god. Thanks for coming on the show. What's the answer?
I'll give it a hint.
Oh yeah, what's the hint?
It's one of the VHS.
Oh, that's great. By the way, super looking forward to seeing you again as soon as I turn around.
Was it Peter Pan?
Aristocats!
You're out.
What? What is it?
That's what you get.
What is it?
I don't care if I lost. Oh. It's the non-Disney one. But you won anyway.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Apparently not.
Shakira wins, everybody.
Thank you guys so much for coming back and watching another episode of the animated series. We'll see you in the next one.
Too close to the storm.